Hey everyone, and welcome back to another versus matchup video. Today we have Taskmaster from Marvel Comics and Joseph Joestar from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. We will be using part 2 Joseph Joestar and not part 3, so no Hermit Purple. And yeah, let's just get right into this video. For attack potency and strength, the Taskmaster is quite comparable to Captain America, who was able to, or at least is much more stronger than Falcon or Sam Wilson, who is able to destroy multiple stone statues in his fight with Crossbones, which is a small building level feat. But not only that, his best strength, or his best comparison, is to when he fought Spider-Man and Venom, as Venom is physically stronger than Spider-Man. I'm not saying that Taskmaster is as strong as Venom, but you know, it should bare minimum compared to him. And Spider-Man was able to destroy 2 tanks, which is a large building level feat. Joseph, meanwhile, went toe-to-toe with Cars. And Cars, right, like the lowest of the low of his species, right, Santana, was stated to be stronger than any vampire in the series before. And this means that it's stronger than Dio, who is stronger than Tarkus, and Tarkus performed the feat of splitting a hill, which takes around 0.8 tons of TNT, which is a building level feat. So you could easily make the highball case of Joseph and Cars being large building level characters. And something that makes Joseph, at least on this level, is the fact that Cars went to punch him, right, or cut him in two with his bone blade, right? And Cars' bone blade acts like a chainsaw, you know, there's little blades running along it too. And he can already level, bare minimum level buildings by himself. So could you imagine someone who could level buildings with his own strength, holding a chainsaw and then going to hit you with it, and then snapping the chainsaw in two? Like that, I think that also would put Joseph at large building level. So for who's stronger, Joseph, there's a lot of, or there's a bit of guesswork, or at least it would make sense for him to be large building level, whereas we 100% know that Taskmaster is large building level. So from that logic, you'd probably have to say that Taskmaster is more likely to be stronger. However, it is really quite close. Moving on to speed, and he should be comparable to Captain America, who is capable of dodging lightning from Electro, which travels at 270,000 miles per hour. It's also shown many times that he has bullet timing too, but the best feat again is comparing to Spider-Man, whose spider sense can react at the speed of light. And this is something to clarify as well. With the Venom versus Nomu video, this does mean that Venom is faster than Nomu. Hand up in the air, I got that wrong. But it doesn't change anything about the overall fight, considering Venom just still wins. So yeah, anyways, so Taskmaster should have reaction speed comparable to Spider-Man's spider sense, or bare minimum comparable to Venom's, who was able to hit Spider-Man. So, you know, there's a bit of, you know, it's a bit iffy, you know, is Taskmaster actually able to react at the same speed that Spider-Man is, but I'm pretty sure he is, so therefore you'd make his reaction speed light speed in this case. Joseph, meanwhile, should be faster than his older self, who is capable of dodging, or at least interacting with Silver Chariot, who is able to catch a light speed attack, which therefore means that Joseph Joestar is also moving at light speed. Now, there is arguments for either of them being faster. The fact that Joseph did this when he was 68 years old, and we're using Prime Joseph here, means that he is most likely, if not definitely, faster than that. However, there's an ability that Taskmaster has that we'll get into more later, but he can increase his speed for a second by approximately 2 times. So I'd probably have to say that Joseph is faster, due to the fact that Taskmaster can barely even keep that up for more than a second, but it is kind of subjective. Now going on to durability, Taskmaster was able to take lightning to the face and was relatively okay. Was hit by a car and shot was completely fine afterwards, but more impressively took a punch from Venom, which then means that it should scale to his durability of being a large building level. Joseph, meanwhile, took a hit from Wamu, and the hit they took from Wamu was the Divine Sandstorm, which can level buildings pretty easily. And while yes, he was bleeding out quite a bit and was crawling, he was still able to get away and was still able to relatively run. So I wouldn't say he was completely unaffected, but he definitely does have high durability. And he also took multiple hits from Cars too. So it's more of the same with his attack potency. So you'd probably have to argue that Taskmaster is only just more durable than Joseph by that argument. So yeah, this point goes to Taskmaster. For weapons, abilities, and techniques, Taskmaster has quite a lot here. So we'll go through these bits here. So obviously he's iconic for his sword and shield. He has a crossbow, nunchucks, throwing darts. He also has bow and arrow as well, just to add on top of that. Firearms too. Devices like can explode. He's mostly done this like against Iron Man. He has a device that can manipulate technology as well, and he can copy what his opponent can do to an extent. Like the example for this is that he could copy you playing an instrument but would not be able to read music, if you know what I mean. So he would be able to copy it, but not the reasons why behind it. So he could probably copy Joseph's Hammond. However, besides one attack, probably wouldn't be able to do much else with it unless he sees Joseph use more different types of Hammond attacks. His sword can create shockwaves as well, which can repel enemies back. He can also shapeshift too. He has explosive arrows as well, and is resistant to extreme heat, or at least just high heat. Like he was hit by an explosion from a flamethrower and was relatively okay. So it kind of begs the question if Joseph's Hammond would do like as much damage. Obviously Hammond is much stronger than regular fire or explosions. However, I'm pretty sure he'd still be able to handle the heat relatively well. He's also a master of stealth too, and can also mimic voices. He's great at predicting his opponent's next moves. He has web shooters, and what I was talking about earlier with speed, he can increase his speed up to double what it usually is for a second because it puts a massive strain on his body. So yeah, Taskmaster is really quite versatile. Joseph meanwhile is a master of Hammond, which is power derived from the sun and is mostly used to fight zombies, or vampires. But of course can be used against humans and quite effectively because it's that powerful. The power of Hammond allows you to heal or be healed. Hammond also allows you to do things such as walk on water and infuse objects with certain things, such as a rope he could wrap around Taskmaster and just induce Hammond all over his body. He using like the power of Hammond, he was able to use his hair as darts. Like he was able to harden them that much. He also has his clacker volleys as well, which he often uses to slap people around with. Not only that, but he has his fabled Tommy gun and several grenades he can just pull out of his back pocket. And also he has several types of punch attacks, like the zoom punch, which he can do from far away, and his ultimate, or his most powerful attack, the ultimate Hamon overdrive, which is what was used to chop off Kars's bone blade. He also he's also got minimal telepathy, or at least can predict what his opponents can do next, and even going as far as to predict what they're going to say. Like his intelligence is so high, right? Like we mentioned Santana, right, earlier, who's the lowest of the low pillar men, right? And he learned an entire language after only hearing a few words, which is dumb high IQ. Hammond also dampens pain as well, so he's not that affected when, say, his arm is cut off. So for who's more versatile, it's definitely Taskmaster. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But for us, the better abilities, you'd probably have to say it's Joseph because of the Hammond that we previously just went over. Now for weaknesses, whenever Taskmaster learns something new, he has to forget something else. Which obviously comes into this fight with, he could forget how to use his bow or something like that, which can be quite detrimental to him. As I already said, if he increases his speed, he can only really hold up for a second, else his body will just not be able to hold up. And he's also had trouble fighting unpredictable opponents like Deadpool. Meanwhile, Joseph, to do Hammond, you need to have a set blood flow, and you also need to have good breathing as well. So if he was, say, underwater, he wouldn't be able to use it, or at least not nearly to great effect as he would if he were to, use it outside of it. Not only that, but Joseph, he was prone to like to make his enemies lose, he would often make them look like idiots first, which can often backfire, and because of that, many of his plans are gambles, even though he is quite intelligent. So for who has the worst weakness, I'd definitely have to say it's Taskmaster. Joseph, you know, he is a little bit cocky from time to time and tries to make his enemies look the worst they possibly can, but he still gets the job done. And not only that, but he stopped doing it, or he stopped doing it as much towards the end of part 2. So yeah, it's not exactly as big as a problem as it was at the start of the series. So I'd probably have to give this point to Taskmaster. Now for the victor of this fight. This fight is extremely close, as you can already gather from our points. From what we've gathered, Taskmaster is slightly stronger, slightly more durable, more versatile, and Joseph is slightly faster, has the better abilities, and is less vulnerable. So who would win the fight? Okay, so Taskmaster could definitely put Joseph down, considering his attack potency only just outdoes Joseph's durability, especially with sharp objects, as Joseph's, you know, his arm has been cut off and things like that when his guard has been down. However, when he's covered in Hammond, that would protect him to a degree, as it already has in the past, as even if you were to look at him punching off cars as bone blades, you know, it's a chainsaw. Punching a chainsaw would usually end in your hand looking like wet spaghetti, but you know, he snapped it clean in two. Another weakness I forgot to bring up: Joseph's most powerful attack, the ultimate Hammond overdrive. Whenever he uses it, he can't use Hammond for a short time afterwards, so it leaves him relatively defenseless afterwards, but he has still got his clackers and things like that he can use to defend himself. But for who wins, I would probably have to put my money on Joseph, mainly because of a few things. First off, you know, it's not as if he can't kill Taskmaster because his attack potency is less than Taskmaster's durability. Like, it is very close, to the point where he could very well one-shot him, or near one-shot him with his ultimate Hammond overdrive. Not only that, but with Taskmaster's weakness of not really being able to deal with unpredictable opponents too well, Joseph is the definition of unpredictable. Like, he makes himself look stupid to his enemies to catch them out, and you know, as I just said, he's outsmarted super beings. With that too, Taskmaster, if you were to copy Joseph's Hammond, first off, you'll only be able to copy one specific attack, and two, he wouldn't be able to do any other attacks because Hammond relies on breathing techniques. Joseph can also heal himself during the fight, and any damage that is serious, like cutting off limbs, he would still be able to fight on because, well, yes, it would be really painful. The pain is dampened due to the Hammond, so I would have to say that Joseph Joestar wins this fight. If you don't believe so and have other counter arguments that I may have missed out, then put them in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, dislike and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.